welcome to livealittlehigher.com. We're entering the month of Adar, which is the happiest month of the year. In this month, we have the ability to transform all negativity to positivity through our joy. So in the book of the Rav Dov Ber Pinson, which is called the month of Adar, he gives a beautiful insight into the different levels of joy. So he says that generally speaking, there are 5 principal types of joy, corresponding to the 5 times that the Torah, the prophets, and the sages ask us to rejoice above the natural state of joy. It's interesting, natural state of joy. What it means is that we should always be joyful. And this doesn't mean that we cannot be sad at certain times in our lives. It doesn't mean that we don't have things in our lives that make us sad. But our state has to be a joyful state, because joy doesn't come from what you have or what you don't have. Joy doesn't come if you're rich or poor, if you're healthy or not healthy, if you're young or old. This is not what brings us joy. Joy, in the literal sense of the word, simha, is a state of being grateful to Hashem for all that He gives you, and it's a state of value, or that you give value to what life is all about. So when you come to this understanding, okay, you can be sad, but you can never not be happy. So here he's going to give us the 5 levels or types of joy that a person encounters. And so he says that there are also 5 times throughout the year that there is a mitzvah to accentuate our joy. And this is on Shabbat, on Yom Tov, which is the holidays, Sukkot, which is one of the Yom Tov, Simchas Ves HaShoeva, and the month of Adar. Especially Purim is like the peak of this joy. So this in turn corresponds to the 5 forms of joy, which are physical joy, emotional joy, mental joy, spiritual joy, and existential joy. So he's gonna explain to us what all this means, how it connects. And he says that these 5 forms of joy also correspond to the 4 letters of the Tetragrammaton, which is the infinite name of Hashem, which we don't say, but we say the words, the letters, which are Yud and a Hey, a Vav and a Hey, plus the tip of the tag, which is a crown that is on top of the letter Yud. And these 5 inner dimensions correspond to the 5 levels of the soul. The soul has 5 levels too. One is Nefesh, which is, let's say, it's the instinctive level of the soul. It's functional consciousness. You have Ruach, which is the emotional consciousness of the soul. You have a Neshama, which is the mental, the intellectual consciousness. You have Haya, which is the spiritual consciousness. It's like a transcendental. It's like where you tap into faith. And then you have another level, which is called the Yehida. This Yehida is the essence, it's unity, it's oneness with Hashem. So these 5 types of joy can and should be experienced daily, yet there are particularly days where they're more conducive. The energy of the day allows us to tap into these energies in a more sensitive way. So let's go and let's explain physical joy. So this physical joy is connected to Shabbat, and it's the final Hey of the name of God, and it also corresponds to the level of the soul, which is the Nefesh, which we said is the instinctive. So physical joy is experienced in the body, and a joy that is related to Shabbat. Why Shabbat? And the Torah says, on the days of Simha, on your designated holidays, this refers to Shabbat. The joy of Shabbat is one in which the entire physical body is having joy. Why? Because Shabbat is about resting, is about having pleasure with the food, it's about dressing beautiful, it's about the body, really. It's a connection with the soul, it's a connection with Hashem, but everything we do really comes through the body. Also, it's a day where the couple should be intimate at night, or Shabbat night, and it's also a day where people take a nap and they rest on Shabbat afternoon. And so such physical joy is related to the resting of the perhaps overworked body, and it's associated with the final lower hey of Hashem's name. Hey can be a silent letter, and therefore it represents the idea of rest. And Shabbat is a day of rest and a tangible joy in which the body itself is honored as the house of the soul. So it's a beautiful day, Shabbat, really. It's a day where you really reconnect to God, like you disconnect from the world and you connect to Hashem. And it's a day where you renew yourself, where you re-energize yourself by resting. Then you have the emotional joy, and this emotional joy corresponds to the inner experience of the Yom Tov. Yom Tov are the holidays, usually it's 2 days of the holiday, except Rosh Hashanah, except in Israel, only Rosh Hashanah is kept 2 days, the other holidays are kept 1 day. But for example, in the diaspora, we keep 2 days. And on Pesach and Sukkot, there is the intermediate days, which are days that are part of the holiday, but people can drive and they can do things that would not be allowed on the Yom Tov. So these days of the holidays of the Yom Tov are connected to the Ruach, which is the level of the soul which is connected to emotions, and it's an emotional joy because the Yom Tov is connected to the Vav of the name of Hashem's name, and it connects to that emotional soul reality. And the Torah tells us, you shall rejoice on your festival, meaning Yom Tov, and you shall be only joyous. You cannot be not happy. And on Yom Tov, if we are sensitive, we can actually feel a heightened sense of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, who loves us. So it's a day where we feel the love of God, and it's emotional. So, for example, on Pesach, when we celebrate Hashem taking us out of Egypt, which we're coming into this holiday on the month of Nisan, next month, we can feel the love of our parent in heaven, because we feel that He left us out, took us out of Egypt. He cared about us. He took us out. He did miracles for us, and He took us out. And this awareness of being loved and precious in the eyes of Hashem creates an emotional joy, the joy of being loved by HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Then you have this intellectual joy, which is connected to the third level of the soul, which is the Neshama, which is an intellectual soul, the intellectual level. And it corresponds in particular to the Yom Tov of Sukkot, the holiday of Sukkot, which is the holiday where we put the sukkahs, the booths, and we eat in them for 7 days. We're eating there, people sleep there, we do everything in the sukkah. And it corresponds to the upper hay of the name of Hashem, of the Yud Hay, it's the first hay, which is a world of Neshama, which is a world of intellectual awareness. The joy of Sukkot comes from bitachon, from trusting in Hashem. Because yes, you're in a hut, it can rain, you get wet, it can be cold, you'll be cold, it can be hot, you'll be hot. But what the holiday of Sukkot teaches us is that our security is not in our home, it's not in our brick homes, our security, our bank accounts. Our security is in Hashem. And just as Hashem took care of the Jews for 40 years in the desert, living in these huts, Hashem really takes care of us every day of our lives. So it is a joy that comes about through the achieving a mental breakthrough, the deciphering of a perplexity of the resolution of doubt. So the arousal of joy, in the language of the Zohar, says the arousal of joy is from the left side, and there is no joy like the resolution of doubt. So when a person has doubt, he cannot be joyful. He's very worried. But when you have a resolution of a doubt that you have, this is a great joy. And it comes from the intellect. And, or, as the Rama quotes, a wise man, one has not tasted the taste of joy until he tastes the resolution of intellectual doubts. And this is a type of intellectual joy of the mind. So besides the mitzvah of rejoicing on every Yom Tov, the Torah singles out Sukkot as a time of joy, asking us to be joyous on it 3 times. These 3 times allude to the 3 levels of Mochin. Mochin is the mind, the mind. So there's 3 levels in the mind, and you have the mind, the intellectual capacities of Chokhmah. Chokhmah is wisdom, you have Bina, which is understanding, and then you have Das, which is knowledge. This is the 3 intellectual faculties, and they give us an analytic understanding, and most important, it gives us knowledge. So the Torah says, you shall live in Sukkot for 7 days in order that the future generations may know that I made the Israelite people dwell in booths when I brought them out of the land of Egypt. So what it's saying is that the living 7 days in the sukkahs it brings us to a resolution of doubt, intellectual doubt, where we understand, we come to know, not only understand, but we come to know that Hashem takes care of us all the time. We can be 40 years in a desert, living in a desert, and He will keep providing for us. So on Sukkot, we draw divine das, divine knowledge, and higher intellect down into our lives and into the world in general. So the extra measure of joy that we aspire to experience on Sukkot should be therefore permeated with das, which is the knowledge, which is a mindful awareness of the events that transpired as we left Egypt. So remember, the emotional is knowing that Hashem is taking care of you. It's reminding you about getting out of Egypt, how He sent the 10 plagues, how He split the sea for you, how He fought the war of Amalek and you were victorious, how He took you and brought you to Mount Sinai and gave you the Torah and made you free people. So this creates emotional love for Hashem. This other one, the intellect, the das, is not only, it goes to a higher level where you know that Hashem takes care of you. You know that He's going to keep taking care of you. So the intellectual joy comes also, it was because we have the 7 days of Sukkot, and then we have an 8th day, which was introduced to our holidays, like around more than 1,000 years ago, which is not a holiday from the Torah. It was a holiday that was given to us by the rabbis, which is called Simchas Torah. And this Simchas Torah also is connected to this intellectual joy, because it's the day that we're celebrating that we finished the whole Torah and we're starting again. And then this brings in immense joy that we understand that Hashem, we know Hashem, that we're learning about Hashem, that we know Hashem. So then you have the 4th joy, which is the spiritual joy. And the spiritual joy comes about with an awareness of one being connected with something higher and beyond themselves. And this type of joy is associated with a special celebration of it's a day that we celebrate during Sukkot in the intermediate days, that is called Simchas Bes HaShoeva, joy of the water drawing. And it was enacted to accompany the ritual of the drawing of the water in the evening for the mitzvah of the libation on the altar during the days of Sukkot. And it's more, the Talmud says, the sages teach, one who did not see the joy of Simchas Beis HaShovea did not see joy in his life. It seems that it was a very, very joyful moment, and it's connected to the spiritual joy of drawing water. We know water is represented by Torah, and water trickles down. And from this description, it would appear that the joy of this time was connected with the drawing of the water. Yet, writing about the festive event, the Rambam begins by writing, although we are required to rejoice on all festivals, there was a special rejoicing in the Beis HaMikdash during this Sukkot festival, as it is written, you shall rejoice before Hashem your God. 7 days. It seems clear from the words of the Rambam that the celebration of Simchas Beis HaShovea may be derived and even seen as an inseparable from the mitzvah to be joyful on all Yomim Tovim, and especially on Sukkot. And in our context, this means that the celebration and its joy are rooted in the knowledge, in the das, and even the higher das of prophetic insight, as we will explore. So what it says is that when you have knowledge of God and you go even to more joy, then you can acquire prophecy. And so it says that cultivating this consciousness in relation to the event, Tosefos writes in the name of Yerushalmi that the word Shovea, drawing, alludes to the fact that the participants who celebrated on these special nights would draw down Ruach HaKodesh. They would bring divine inspiration, and this divine intuition and flow was what gave them this tremendous joy. And that's why it's connected to spiritual joy. And so it's finished here that on these powerful nights, the sages of old would tap into higher states of consciousness and holy inspiration. So the joy of knowledge opens up to an even higher level of mohin, of consciousness. And this level of joy corresponds with the letter Yud of the name of Hashem, of the first letter of the name of Hashem, which is connected to this level of the soul, which is the Haya, which is a spiritual consciousness. It's transcendental. And then the fifth joy that he's talking about is the joy of existing. And this is the highest and most embracing joy possible, existential joy. It's not just a joy of immanence, of the fullness of self and the physical body. It is not just an emotional joy. It's not about pleasure. It's not about emotions. It's not about intellect or even transcendental joy. Rather, it includes all of this simultaneously. Our nefesh, ruach, neshama, haya, and yehida, to the fullest. And this joy comes from this feeling of uniqueness that a person can come to feel like I'm unique in this world and I'm a part of Hashem. I'm really a mamish, a piece of Him in this world. And so this crown atop the Yud is a small dot on the tip of the smallest elevated letter, the Yud. If you look at the Yud, it has like a lamed, and on top of that lamed, it has that crown, that Yud, and it's indicating an utterly transcendent level. On the other hand, it represents the point from which all letters and manifestations emerge. So we go back to the essence, to the point of all creation, which is that Yud, that Chokhmah, that vision of Hashem. And this is paradoxically the joy of Purim, because it is utterly transcending the knowledge, yet it is also the point from which all das and joy emerge. So it's the ultimate knowledge. The ultimate knowledge is to know that we are connected to Hashem, that we're part of Him, we're one in essence, we're one with Him. And that when we connect to this, there's no issues with self-esteem. There's no feelings of I'm not good enough. There's no feelings like, okay, I messed so bad, I can never get it right again. No, when you connect to this higher level of joy, which is the level of joy that allows us to connect during Purim, in the month of Adar, that we have to start working tonight of being joyful, more joyful than before. You have to add to your joy. Then this huge joy that connects you to that awareness that I'm not a body, I'm not emotions, I'm not intellect, I'm not even a transcendental being, I'm a one with Hashem. This is the joy that really breaks all barriers. And so it says that the essence of that day of Purim is that it's like a Yom Kippur is like a Purim. Yom Kippur is known as almost like Purim. How to say? I lost the word, but it's almost like Purim. Like the holiness of Purim is what Yom Kippur brings. But Yom Kippur is almost like Purim. Purim is in a higher level of Yom Kippur. So what you achieve through fasting on Yom Kippur, you can achieve through joy in Purim. Hashem will forgive you for everything. It's like a new slate in your life, and it's almost like Yom Kippur. The Yom Kippur is almost like Purim. And so he says it is paradoxically a joy that is beyond joy. However, even this description of beyond descriptions fails, for the joy of Purim is the root of all four types of joy, and thus it includes each of them, even while transcending them. And existential joy is reached through ad delo yada, until you do not know, transcending what is known as joy. That's why on Purim, we dress, we put on masks, people drink, obviously, to the point where you don't know if Haman was good or he was evil, or Mordecai was good or he was evil. Obviously, we don't get drunk, but we drink to the point where we're so happy that we don't know anymore what's right, what's wrong. And people are very joyful. And this is Yom Kippur is Purim, almost like Purim. So if we see on Yom Kippur, we get rid of all the body pleasures, like we don't bathe, we don't anoint, we don't eat, we don't wear leather shoes, we abstain. On Purim, Hakipurim, is a day where we go to the excess of the body. It's one day a year, where you just like go to the excess. You drink, you eat, you give presents to friends, you give money to the poor, you feast, you indulge, and it's a very special day. So may you use this month well, work on your joy, and the joy breaks all barriers. Many miracles come through being joyful, and we can achieve more being joyful than being sad if we would know how we can transform the world through our joy. And it's the ultimate joy of knowing that we are one with Hashem. Then the whole world will transform. It's more, this holiday of Purim, it's gonna be forever. And when Mashiach comes, all the other holidays are gonna disappear. We're not gonna have Yom Kippur anymore, Rosh Hashanah, Pesach, nothing, no matzah, no. All these things are gonna disappear. But the holiday of Hanukkah and the holiday of Purim are eternal. So I wanna wish you a blessed month. May you increase in your joy, and that in the merit that you increase in your joy, Hashem should give you many reasons to be joyful. So remember, live a little higher. Thank you.